What's up, guys? Just want to let you know the start of this podcast is kind of a little funny. The recording messed up, so I kind of missed the first 10 minutes of this. So we're dropping right in the middle of a conversation regarding CLA and all that kind of stuff. So if it seems a little confusing, don't worry, you'll catch up really quickly. But this is my episode with the great and powerful Robert Diggle.
Through like interaction with the environment, of identifying opportunities for movements which can further their goals towards meeting the win conditions of their sport. Like that's CLA fundamentally, right? And what that is, that's an organizational framework for understanding performance in sports and providing us an explanatory model for discussing it. Now, what it isn't is a prescriptive methodology for how to coach athletes. It suggests things, but it is not on its own a prescriptive methodology of how to just do this for athletes, right? What it suggests is the degree to which a sports performance program is capable of enabling an athlete to more effectively identify affordances in the environment and then capitalize upon those. I'm going to say opportunities from now on. Capitalize upon those opportunities. It's a good sports performance program, at least in terms of technique, right? Because obviously you have other things. You have nutrition, you have strength and conditioning, etc., right? But at least in terms of technique and skill, that framework, I think it's very coherent. I think it's very intelligent. I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, where it falls short is this idea that the narrow range of things that these people will discuss as being capable of allowing an individual to enhance their capacity to identify opportunities in a sports environment, like essentially only positional rounds. Now, they will always push back whenever you call CLA games positional rounds, but guys, like that's what it is. Like fun, you can use whatever terms you want for these things. Like, let's understand words are just essentially, my favorite philosopher, Ludwig Wittgenstein, he has an amazing quote where he said, "The meaning of a word is its use in language." If I describe something as a game versus a positional round, okay, if I have conveyed to you that what we're doing is we're grappling, but we're starting from a specific spot and there are specific constraints and there are specific goals, it's the same thing. Like that's what John used to do with us in the blue basement. Now, the modern jiu-jitsu eco CLA movement has absolutely sort of pushed that to new heights. I agree with that. And I think it's a positive thing. I think it's very positive. I'm not pushing back on that whatsoever. I'm very welcoming of it. I think it's very good. Where I'm pushing back is this idea. You'll hear these guys talk about this. Like it's essentially a religion to these guys, right? Where it's like, if you do not accept that drilling, this is something else I want to talk about later. Drilling is just bad. Drilling is like sinning. If you drill, you're sinning to these guys. And you're sinning against the god of their ego. Oh man, I'm not just a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm doing smart science stuff, right? Like, if you talk about drilling, it's like you've just offended their smart. These guys, they want to be so much more than just jiu-jitsu guys. They're like, we are actually scientists on the cutting edge of a new discipline. Guys, listen, this is an insightful organizational framework for making sense of how athletes in games identify problems through interaction with problems, and then how we train our capacity to capitalize upon the opportunities to solve those problems, right? Like that's what it is, right? It is not Newton's theory of gravity. Okay. We can talk about coaching methodologies, different coaching strategies. So they're that framework. We can talk about a whole. Sorry, let me just finish the sentence and then I'll let you go. We can talk about a whole host of specific training modalities or training instruments, like training methods. That's probably the best way to describe it. We can use a whole host of training methods okay, to enhance a given athlete's capacity to identify problems and solve them in a game. Like, it's not so constrained that just positional rounds can do this. Now, I think positional rounds are in fact one of the best. John taught us that in the Blue Basement. Like, the basic concepts of CLA, John fundamentally taught us in the Blue Basement. Like, without all of the flowery language, fundamentally he taught us this in the Blue Basement, right? And I'm not saying that doesn't mean people haven't contributed new things. I'm just saying that, okay, at its core, at its core, this is one, it's a framework, and two, the framework is not, it's not completely novel, and it is not so narrow that only positional rounds can fit within that framework. And I also don't care what Rob Gray has to say on this. So people will be like, well, the research doesn't corroborate what you're saying. I do not care. I do not agree with Rob Gray. Rob Gray is just a guy. Calling him an academic and calling what his writing is academic literature doesn't make it correct, right? Like, yeah. But anyway, sorry, you want to say something?
No, I was gonna say, so like, there's a couple different ways you could think about it. Is your main issue is the delivery of the information, in that it's like, this is gospel, it's an academic paper,
Yeah.
you must follow it because it is so.
Yeah,
And
and actually, to be frank, I think that the people who are like really embedded in this community, like the eco community, I think that they really choke the value of it, to be honest, because they will just like hyper narrowly constrain. They will hyper narrowly constrain the range of possible, you know, training modalities, right? Like, it's I think very um and the way they'll talk about it is that it's like, if you challenge that, it's essentially like you're challenging God. Like, you're not having like a rational conversation about, okay, how do we like help athletes develop? It's like,
yeah,
whoa, you just say this in 20 years, everyone's going to agree with us. Like, it's like, well, I think like in 20 years, hopefully people will utilize ideas from this organizational framework, but we are not arguing about scientific facts here, guys. We're trying to produce results in athletes, and
that's the biggest thing. I'm like, this is what we're talking about. It's all abstract. It's very
yeah.
abstract what we're talking about right now. Practically, what do you think is the best way you should go about developing? Like,
Well,
because it's obviously not static drilling, and it's obviously not straight rolling. It's like there's
mhm.
somewhere in the middle, I'm assuming, is how you develop.
Well, so let me challenge that a little bit, that this is abstract. I actually don't think this is abstract. It's abstract maybe in the sense that a lot of it is a little bit complicated sounding. But if we break
It's
it
maybe
down
abstract
simply,
to me
right?
because I'm retarded.
Okay, sorry, bro. But I think I can make you understand it simply, right? Like, okay, what is the goal of a good coaching program? It's to enable a student to correctly identify and then encounter the right problems. And let's define the right problems as being those problems that they will most likely face in the pursuit of their goals, whatever they are, right? And that coaching program should also equip them with suggestions for how to solve those problems. So it does two things, a good coaching program, as far as I'm concerned, right? First, we identify what is the long term goal that we aim to accomplish. Okay. Then we identify what are the core problems students are likely to encounter in pursuit of that long term goal. All right. Then we create training, a training environment, and we use training methods to force students to encounter those problems. And that is a big part of it, really thinking a lot about that. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is where CLA is best suited. But let me come back to that in a moment. Okay. That's where CLA is best suited. And the second part of a good coaching program is to suggest solutions to those same problems. Okay. Um, And that's, that can come in the form of like technical instruction or in the form of certain types of drilling. Okay. Um, so the way I would, drilling is a separate topic. I want to talk about that. But in terms of like what I believe the value of drilling to be. Drilling is essentially a way to couple perception, what CLA people would call coupling perception and action with very low amount of variability. Okay. So and what this is essentially a way of enabling or helping a student to be capable of identifying a solution to a problem in the game. All right. So the thing with this is that it is something that has a low amount of utility beyond the initial exposure to the solution, right? But that doesn't mean, like, do you know the expression, "We don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater"? It's like,
Yes.
we don't need to, like, completely abandon the entire concept. I think this is a meme, it's almost a meme at this point that drilling is useless. Like, I don't agree at all. Like, I think actually there is real practical utility, even within the framework established by Rob Gray, whether he agrees with that or not. I think that if we take the notion of perception action coupling and the notion of a lot, trying to help students to identify opportunities for movement in the environment as means by which to solve specific problems, the idea that technical instruction with drilling, which is essentially, you can view this if you'd like as highly constrained positional rounds in a very silly sense. You can view it
Sure.
that way. Yeah, it's essentially just a very low variability. And I understand like what Rob Gray or what CLA people would say to that. They would say, okay, but you are detaching a lot of the actual situational perception and action, like variables. Like it's very detached. It's very distant from where the actual situation will be. Well, you know, when you start lifting weights, do you start with 100 pounds? If it's
Nope.
or that's not that heavy. I'm sorry. Supple will
Yeah,
roast me for saying that. All right.
yeah, yeah.
Like my point is you start light, right? Like
Yeah.
so. I have had many students who just did not understand things until I had them drill. Like I had them drill. There's one student in particular who I always talk about. A- At CLA, people will be like, "Well, this is anecdotal." I don't care, guys. Like I don't care. Like this is
I
we're
think this
talking.
whole thing is anecdotal, to be honest. Like, it's everyone's different. The variabilities between humans are very different, and then there's nothing to compare it to.
In what sense?
In like, if you the way that you view something versus the way I view something is going to be different, and
Mhm,
so then if we both started at zero and we both were exposed to different ways of doing things,
mhm.
there's no way that you're going to figure out what the result is. Like, some people
Right,
are,
yes. There's no
you know
way
what I
to
mean?
yeah, there's no way to, like, earnestly analyze like, so for instance, like, it would be very difficult to genuinely establish a causal link, an objectively established causal link
Yeah,
between just one training methodology and success, right? But
that's a smarter way of saying what I just said. Yeah.
yeah. Um, if it makes you feel any better, I wasted so much time, studying philosophy at school to gain this useless knowledge, so
Hey, dude,
you probably
shout
did
out.
you did more practical stuff while I was doing that.
Ah,
Yeah,
it's all right. At least you can hang with the nerds.
yeah. Well, anyway, so I forget where we were going, but, my suggestion is always this. Okay, why don't we demystify ultimately what it is that we're doing in sports, any sport, okay? Fundamentally, what we're doing is we are trying I'll just talk about jujitsu, exclusively jujitsu for a second. In
Yep.
jujitsu, fundamentally, what we are trying to do is identify problems, uncover solutions, and acquire the movement skills to be capable of performing those solutions to those problems.
Yep.
Any training methodology that enables a coach to take a student effectively through those three steps, as far as I'm concerned, if it can be demonstrated to work, is a good training methodology. Okay. And I think that absolutely CLA, the positional rounds stuff, one of the most, I would say, if you've got drilling, positional rounds, there's really four things actually. There's the dissemination of information. There's just a coach suggesting movement solutions. That's what really giving a student information is, right? It's suggesting it's establishing context, it's identifying problems and suggesting movement solutions. That's essentially what information dissemination is in our sport. That's the first thing. Then there's drilling, which is, I view this as low variability perception action coupling. Like you're trying to understand how it is that you can solve a given problem. Like, and also actually, let me add about drilling. I challenge the idea that there's any jiu-jitsu athlete in the world who doesn't drill. Are you telling me that, oh, you got the most ardent anti-drilling guy? You're telling me that guy never shows up to the gym? He saw a guy do a video. Oh, yeah, Diego Pato, the way he did that Z-lock, or Kennedy Maciel, the way he did that sit-up guard sweep, or blah, 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 whatever. You're telling me that you never show up to the gym and grab a blue belt and put him in that spot and feel it? You never do
Yeah.
that? Like,
Yeah.
ever? Right? You never watch an instructional and think, you go to the gym, you're watching a Danaher half guard passing instructional. You show up to the gym, you grab a blue belt. Oh, let me put you at half guard. You move your hips a certain way. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to try this live. That was, what would you call that if that's not drilling? If you
It's
want to,
drilling. Yeah.
it's drilling. If you want to call it something else, if you want to call it something else, I'm not drilling. I'm simply, exploring perception action coupling in the environment. Okay, we could call it that if you want, but brother, to me, that's
Yeah.
that's a form of fucking drilling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like these guys they love to steel man themselves and straw man other people. But
I
anyway,
agree with that.
yeah, sorry. Let's go back. Let's go back to the four what I would consider to be the four main training modalities in a good coaching program: information dissemination, drilling with a purpose. Okay, uh, three, positional rounds, which I think should be, let's say, maybe even as much as 60 to 70% potentially. I think most of your coaching program should be information dissemination, positional rounds, and live rolling. And that's the fourth one, live rolling. Okay. I think drilling should be the least emphasized. I completely agree. But it is, as far as I'm concerned, a very important step for a lot of people. Okay. I would even go so far as to say probably most people will see value in a certain amount of drilling. Okay. As long as we understand that what drilling is not, you're not showing up and just arbitrarily going through movements that you don't think about. You don't, your training partner's just lying there like a fish. This is a straw man, right? Obviously,
Yep.
this is useless. This is absolutely useless, right?
Yep.
If you're drilling with, for instance, bread, and you're trying, I'm just kidding. Bread is getting good.
He's not
Like,
gonna watch this.
for those that don't know, Brett is is he a blue belt now? He's a blue belt now, right?
He's blue belt. Yeah.
Nice. He's a blue belt at City West Martial Arts. No, I'm kidding. Brett's actually getting good.
He is.
But
He's doing all right.
yeah. But anyway, so yeah, of course there is useless drilling. And if you want, you can even say that. I don't even know how we would verify a claim like this, that most drilling is useless. I don't know. So I'm not going to say that. But there is certainly useless drilling. But
Yeah. Agree. We
yeah,
can agree that some drilling feels more useless than others.
yeah, but to suggest that there is never a situation where um, attempting to perform specific physical movements that your coach has explained to you, the coach in a good drilling situation, the coach should previously establish the context wherein he explains to you what is the problem we're trying to solve and how does this specific movement solution solve that problem. Is drilling itself going to prove that? No. But what it's going to do is it's going to give you the initial movement cues on how to perform this movement solution in a low variability environment where you're not worrying about 90 other things that are happening. And if you're a black belt, look, Gianni Grippo, he trains at a CLA gym now. I don't think Gianni Grippo needs to do very much drilling. But if you know
I
about
agree.
Johnny Gibbo's, if you know about his training history, he was a hardcore driller. That guy
A
would
drill
drill.
machine.
Yeah, he would drill for like an hour at a time. You
Yeah.
know, is it entirely impossible that that background gave him a certain set of, um, technical skills, which now benefit his grappling, right? Like, this is the kind of thing, again, this is not a falsifiable claim. You can't falsify this claim. This is, if you want to think of it, it's like everything I'm saying, you're saying, and the CLA Eagle guys are saying, it's like the Big Lebowski. That's just like your opinion, man. We're all, but the difference is I'm not going to pretend like my claims or my ideas are scientific theories. They're not. Their
Yeah.
ideas are not, my ideas are not. We are giving explanatory models for how to think about sports performance. Okay? That's all we're doing. And ultimately, if you don't find what I'm saying convincing or you find what they say convincing, whatever, right? This is a matter of persuasion. Much more so than it is about like intellectual debate, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do you also think it varies individually too? Because there's some people who they really they hate drilling. All they want to do is sparring. They're just that kind of person who's
That doesn't make
more
that
inclined to that.
that doesn't mean that you're actually going to improve though, right? So I do agree with the idea that some people will
Oh,
benefit.
based on what you like, it doesn't mean you're going to improve.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're going to improve.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's
I
true.
do I do agree though with the idea that some people will benefit more from certain things
What I
more
was
than
going to
others.
say was like, do you think forcing that person to do, traditional boring drilling would probably be less productive than CLA constraint based approach versus
It's a
someone who can tolerate drilling
mm, mm.
will maybe benefit from it as well?
It's a case by case basis, right? That's
I
why I think
agree. This is
yeah,
actually what I was wanted to get to is because I
yeah.
think it is case by case.
You have to be
Yeah,
flexible, right? So I was
agreed.
asked recently by one of my online students who he owns a gym himself. He's a very smart guy, and he asked me how do you think I should structure my sessions, my when he teaches classes, but when he also trains, right? And I gave him what I like to do, which I have my way of running a class that I also think is valuable for training. But you have to be very flexible, right? So,
Yep.
when I was running classes in Vietnam, I had some students that, like they really struggled. Like I was running positional rounds in single leg X, and then I had certain students who just were really struggling. They just didn't really have like any knowledge or experience of the position. So I would have them drill specific things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have them drill positional flows. And then after they understood how to flow between positions, I would explain to them how position and off balancing mechanics are intrinsically connected. Each position has only so many possible off balances. And your goal is to cycle between positions in order to create off balances in various directions. And now you know the positions, you know how to cycle between them. Okay, now let's begin exploring possible off balancing opportunities in all of these positions. And now what they've just learned is a series of movement solutions to the problem of their opponent having a stable base over them. All right. And this is a learning progression that I've done. I do this all the time with beginning students, even if they're experienced, but they're not experienced with entanglements from the bottom. Um, but if they are more experienced, probably more quickly they can go straight into positional rounds, right? Like, um, it has to be flexible, right? And the core thing that I want to push back on is this idea that, first of all, that what we're talking about when we're talking about coaching programs has anything to do with fact or like truth or falsity in terms of scientific axioms or anything like that. Like that's not what we're talking about, guys, right? Like so the one thing I will say is that um, there is a sense in which we can measure um, coaching effectiveness, but it is something that takes a very long time. And it's still not scientific in nature ultimately, right? Like,
No, too many
yeah,
variables.
yeah, there's too many variables, right?
Yeah, no control.
Yeah, um, and yeah, so I think you get what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
That's the first thing I want to push back on. Well, you could look, you can take this conversation very far back if you want to talk about like,
Yeah.
yeah, Immanuel Kant and phenomenal and noumenal realities.
I'm all about like practical information for what people can get out of these podcasts.
Hmm.
Like, what do you think makes? Obviously, we could talk about what makes a good grappler, but we can also work backwards. What do you think makes a shitty grappler? Like, if you just wanted to
Um,
be as shit as possible, how could you do that?
yeah, but if you want to be as shit as possible, the CLA guys are gonna love this. Definitely just definitely just drill and don't think about what you're doing. Like that is
Yeah.
probably the best way to be the shittest grappler, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Like when you come into a session, okay, I'll put it to you this way: what did you work on today?
I don't want to say. I don't want to reveal all my secrets. I don't want people to know what I'm working on. But a bunch of different things.
Cross Ashy.
Actually, all right, I'll tell you. I was working single leg takedowns, among other things, but
Nice.
that was one thing I was doing. Yeah, yeah.
You're in your wrestling arc right now, right?
Have to be. ADCC
Yeah.
is just a wrestling match with some submissions thrown in. So, yeah.
Jake O'Driscoll messaged me in reply to something I spoke about. I don't remember which podcast. It might have been with Jeremy, maybe. But anyway, I said, I don't think there's a pure guard player who's ever won ADCC. And he corrected me and he said, Adele Fornerino is the only guard player, pure guard player who's won ADCC. I was like, it's a good point. But in like 20, I don't know, how long has it been going for? 30 years almost? One person as a pure
Right,
guard player
right.
has won ADCC.
Yeah, I think we could also potentially argue Marcelo. He pulled almost every single match. I think he may have pulled literally every single match, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he would have wrestled in the finals, no?
He pulled in the finals.
He did?
He ate negatives a large percentage of the time. Yeah.
What a G. Okay, well, Marcelo. So it does go to show that you should still put a large amount of your eggs into the wrestling basket. Like, you
Look, at the
can't
end
get
of the
away
day,
with it.
no, I agree. I fully agree. If you want to
Yeah.
succeed in ADCC, you need to wrestle. Like there's no if, ands, or buts about it. But I think the way that people conceive of wrestling is very limited. I think that it's entirely possible to not be the best wrestler ever, but to integrate your wrestling with wrestling up, that
Yep.
you can still succeed even if you're the inferior.
Wrestling down.
Even if you're
Big fan of wrestling down.
Oh, interesting. Like, they're on guard and you do takedowns on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Maybe you could do that in the next trials. That could be your.
I just
Are you
fucking
doing
dive
trials
my
in
head into their
June?
face. We'll see based on how my knee is going. I'm pretty injured right now. So
Bro, you better fucking do it, bro.
yeah, well, I was talking to Luke about it this morning, whether we just do it without doing a camp, because we're in the camp right now and I absolutely cannot participate.
Oh shit, that sucks, man. Fuck, bro. Well,
we'll see.
You know,
I'm aiming for it, but
yeah,
I'm giving it a couple of weeks before I decide, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get going in camp for at least another month.
Yeah, that sucks, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very
So
interested
we'll
to
see.
see how that goes. Yeah, bro.
Could just
I
fucking
just did.
send it, Sorry.
What's that?
I said could just fucking send it and do a trials run without a camp.
Imagine you win. That would be amazing.
I'm never doing a camp again.
Yeah. So I just did a data analytics project on the last trials, the Asian trials, the Bangkok trials. And honestly, it is crazy. It is crazy how few athletes did that event. It is shocking, actually. There were 50 athletes in the 66 kilo division. That is 1/5 of the North American trials. Like
Really?
that is shocking. It is shocking, honestly. Yeah. So it's like a lot of people talk about like what is the number one way to become a high level grappler? Be Australian. Okay. Be able be able to do those trials,
The best base for grappling is Australian.
So low key, if you said to me you could be from any one country in the world to qualify for ADCC, Australia is the best one because you get genuinely, in my opinion, the second best training in the world. Okay, behind America, and I genuinely mean that. I think Australia has the second best training in the world behind America. Okay, and on top of that, you have on top of that, you have access to the easiest trials by far. Okay. Now
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that they're easy. No trials are ever easy.
No.
You know, to win ADCC trials in 66 kilos, you had a couple tough fucking guys, like really. 77, 77, you had fucking multiple tough fucking guys.
Fucking
88,
Isaac and Kenta, it was crazy.
yeah, like or they did 88, right?
No, that was 77.
That was 77. Are you 100%
Yeah.
sure? I think Joseph won
100%.
77.
No, he won 88.
Okay, all right. Oh,
Yep.
interesting. Okay. Here's an interesting stat. Taiwan had a 100% win rate. No
Really?
Taiwanese athletes lost because only two athletes did it, and they both won their
Yeah.
divisions.
Oh, man.
Taiwan is the number one grappling nation in Asia and Oceania.
I bet the CCP would love to gobble up Thailand and Taiwan and steal those numbers.
Listen, China did well too, actually. So
Yeah.
if you look at the trends, in my opinion, it is the Chinese language countries, China itself, Hong Kong, Taiwan. These are the countries that are growing the most in the number of competitors that succeed at trials in Asia. And actually, it's so funny. Australia has the most athletes by far. There were 74 Australian athletes that did it. The second highest was, I believe it was, I could pull it up right now. I forget off the top of my head. I think it was
Japan.
like 20. It was Japan was like 28 or something. I think it was 28.
Still quite a bit lower.
It's quite a bit lower. And what's funny is, let's be frank, actually, Japan and Australia almost did identically in terms of performance. There's just a bunch of shitty Australians going out there not doing that well. There's a lot of good Australians. There's a lot of good Australians, right? There's also some shit ones that are going out there just like, so just because there's
having
more
a Thailand
athletes,
trip.
I mean, it's not a bad place to go.
Yeah,
but like, it doesn't necessarily correlate with much better performance overall. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think? You've obviously. How long have you been training?
So I started training in 2006.
Okay, so 20
years.
years.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah,
Congrats.
about 20 years. Yeah.
How has your the way you approach training changed over the years? Like, has it changed at all?
I mean, yeah, for sure, a lot. The main thing I would say is organization. Okay, having an organized sense of what you're doing. Okay, I've always been a very research oriented, very data driven person. I want
Yep.
to see, as clear as day, as many possible examples of something that I can see. Okay,
Sure.
I want to find as many case studies that I can on a given situation, right? And so I've always been very research oriented, very data driven. And to do that, you want to be as organized as possible. So I think the number one thing that I've grown at throughout the years is becoming more organized, becoming better at being organized, optimizing my workflow for how I organize my training and my learning, stuff like that, and lots of practical tools for that end, right? I have a little it's not next to me right now, but I have a little notebook that I just write down, what am I working on? It's like in a couple words. Usually every session I have 3 specific things that I'm trying to work on over a 3-month period of time. And I'll just write down what it is I'm doing with, single leg takedowns, but this specific thing, right? Single legs from here, right? This thing to here, this thing to here, whatever, right? And just having that little notebook and I just look at it, oh yeah, I'm doing that, right? It just helps keep me focused on what I'm doing. And then I like to organize to the extent that I can. If I'm running the room, I like to organize the sessions in such a way that I'm working on specific things that I want to work on in the way that I want to work on them. Yeah.
So you'll teach the class based on that.
Yeah. Do you want to hear how I like to structure a class?
100%. Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay. So the core of it is, again, that it's got to be flexible. Okay. But what I like to do is I like to come into the class with an idea of a set of problems that I want to explore solving. Okay. I said this many years ago, and to me, the most interesting part of jiu-jitsu is that it is an exploration of the range of what is possible. Okay. It's an exploration. It's a research. It's a space for research wherein we can explore the range of what is possible in different jujitsu contexts, right? You go to a position, what can I do here? What is possible? Exploring the range of that, that is to me the most interesting aspect of the sport, right? The technical range. Okay. So I like to structure my classes in such a way that that's fundamentally what they're centered around doing. So um, I'll usually go into the class with a set of problems that I'd like to discuss. And usually I'll start off with a brief discussion of the context. What position are we going to work on? What problem are we aiming to solve? Maybe if the students are more green, I'll have them work drills. But usually that is, frankly speaking, relatively brief. And then we'll go into positional rounds. And then maybe we'll do a few iterations of that positional round. And then we'll circle up. I'll ask the guys, okay, how did you feel in these positions? What worked? What didn't? We'll kind of workshop it, and then based on their feedback, I'll have them do maybe more drills. Okay. You guys are struggling with that. All right. Let's, if we look at this here, if I do this grip and I pull this way, blah, 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 we can possibly solve the problem in this way, right? Let's drill this for a couple minutes. All right. Come back. Let's do the round again, right? Maybe we move on to another round, right? And all of this has to be organized around a long-term project of development towards specific goals. So you have to start with a long-term goal in mind. And the class has to be structured in such a way that what it's doing is, okay, we have the long-term goal. We've identified through research what problems are we going to likely encounter in pursuit of this long-term goal. And then the goal of a given training session is to be organized in such a way that you are conveying information to the student in terms, or students in terms of helping them to identify what are the relevant problems and then suggesting how to solve them. And then helping them to gain the skill required to actually solve those problems physically. And I kind of use like a loop method where you start with identifying the problems, and then you see, okay, do they need to drill? Okay, if not, we'll just go into positional rounds, constraint led training, right? Constrained positional rounds, right? Okay, how did that look? Okay, looks good. All right, we can move on to the next one. Let's go to this situation, right? Guys, in this situation, the problem has a slightly different context, but it is still the same problem, whatever, right? And then you loop through that. And then I like to do that for, if it's an hour and a half class, I like to do that for about 50 minutes, and then usually do 40 minutes of free rolling at the end, because you're also going to have breaks, right? So like maybe 6 5-minute rounds of free rolling at the end. And the positional stuff combined with drilling and information dissemination, this stuff should be low. I like to keep it low intensity so that you can, I mean, this is what I used to do in Vietnam. Like you could do this for an hour and a half, 100%. You're rolling for combining positional rounds with live rounds, maybe rolling for like 45 to 50 minutes of an hour and a half session. I mean, it depends on how long the information dissemination part is. Depends. But yeah, maybe just 45 minutes. I don't know, but somewhere around that. You can definitely do this and not get hurt as long as you're
Yeah.
training in such a way that it is skill development oriented, not winning. You know what I mean? Yeah. And
That's so huge.
and that's a cultural thing. That's a cultural
Yep.
thing in the room. Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually my only beef with Sydney West is like we'll talk about that like guys, skill development, we're practicing, and then
Yeah.
you get someone to put you in an armbar and they tap you and you're like, you got tapped by that fucking guy, you suck. I'm like,
Yeah.
guys, what happened to skill development?
Yeah. So I came out with something, the Sydney West guys would make fun of me about this, but what I always tell myself in training or even in competition is be kind to yourself. If you fail,
Yeah.
be kind to yourself, right? Look at yourself as someone you're learning. Okay. If you fail, just take it in stride. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. You fucked up. Whatever. Fortunately, I mean, I always viewed the Sydney West environment as like, bro, it's like, it's funny. I never
It's
took it that
funny.
seriously.
It is funny.
Yeah. But
It's
I,
not an actual issue.
yeah, but I do understand what you're saying. Whereas like some people could misconstrue that sense of humor and like
Yeah.
be like, these guys are really mean. They think I suck. Like,
Or they're gonna be like, fuck, every time I let so and so put me in an armbar and I get submitted, they make fun of me. So I can never
right.
do that.
I think that does happen actually. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think that does. I could give you off air. I'll give you specific. I don't want to say this on the podcast, but I could give you specific training examples of like times I did stuff to people and they were like really mad about it.
Yeah, I've had that as well. We
Yeah,
can
but
exchange names. I imagine we'll cross over with a couple.
yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, but at the core of it, it's like it's a very supportive environment. Like it's
Yeah,
awesome.
100%.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
no, I totally agree in that, like, the Americans will call, like, Australians call it training. Americans often call it practice. And I almost like that word better in that
I've never heard
it's
who says that.
practice.
Who says that?
I don't know. When I go to Austin, they often call it, oh, we're going to practice.
John calls it that. Okay, I don't think
Oh, does
anyone
he?
else calls. I don't think I've never heard that in any other training room.
Oh, okay. Well, interesting. Well, I only go to fucking
Well,
John's and Jason's.
John is very influenced by wrestling, right? Does he still do the all right, guys? Let's slap hands and wrestle. Does he still do that?
Oh, it's the same thing. Yeah,
Yeah. He still says. Does he say wrestle?
It depends on the round. He usually just goes with like mounted position. Everyone ready? Time on.
He says time on. No, okay. He used to say even when you're just doing jujitsu, wrestle. So
okay,
like,
no, he says time on.
Oh, okay. So he's changed.
Yeah,
the
he's
wording.
changed. He's changed the wording. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I have that shit
I always
like burned in my brain.
Yeah, I always liked that he called it wrestling. I always liked that because to me it sort of connects what we're doing to if you look at grappling historically throughout various cultures and history, the vast majority of grappling arts are fundamentally centered around top position. Okay. And I always, this is like a really nerdy thing, but I always liked how when he says wrestle, it's like, he's contextualizing what we're doing in this grappling art as being part of the anthropological tradition of international grappling arts. That's how I.
Yeah. Hi, buddy. My dog wants
Is
to
that
be
your
part of
cat?
the podcast. No, it's my. Where is he?
Yo, he's so cute. Yo, keep this in the podcast, bro.
Oh, 100%. I'm not cutting this at all.
That's so good. He's so cute. Oh my god.
Oh, fuck. Fix this now. Yeah.
So are you going to training soon?
Yeah, I got to teach a private in about 2 hours, and then I have fundamentals, gi, no gi, and then
at Hills.
class.
You're teaching at Hills. Ah, okay,
Yep.
okay. Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay. Cool.
Yeah. I was at training this morning. Luke called me fat,
cool.
which is true.
Oh, nice. All right.
Yeah. But that's the one thing. Do you need to go, or you still
No.
good for a bit?
I mean, in a moment I do. I got to eat dinner, but like, is there anything else you want?
How long do you want to go for?
10, 15 minutes. You want to talk about anything else?
Perfect. Yeah. 10, 15, that's perfect. How long do you work on something before you switch? You mentioned 3 months before, but like, surely you're not like, I'm only doing underhooks to knee picks for 3 months.
No, I try to do 3 topics for 3 months at a time.
3 topics for 3 months. Okay. So you kind of stayed somewhat general?
So typically what I will try to do is one thing that's top position oriented, one thing that's bottom position oriented, and one thing that is either positional or submission oriented. And then I'll work on this for 3. I'll take 3 things and work on them for 3 months. But that's like, I'm not like, that is not like a thing that I would say like everyone needs to do. Like, that's just like my,
Yeah, no,
through
I'm just curious what you do.
Yeah, through experience over time, I have found that if I try to improve too many things at once, and if I try to, like, let's say I just work on top position passing, three passing things for 3 months. Okay, like by the end of it, my guard sucks now, right? Like, so I like to have one thing on top, one thing on bottom, one thing that has to do with some position or some submission, something centralized around that, right?
I'm working on inverting from reverse De La Riva. On top, I'm working on my body locks, and then I'm aiming to get to the back.
But I'm not that narrow. I wouldn't pick it that narrow. I'll pick like a guard, and I'll try to work on everything from that guard, and not even just a guard, maybe associated guards. Like could be De La Riva with K guard, with R guard, with sit up guard, with whatever. Like I would categorize this as all like a single topic, right? So it is a broad category, but I'm trying to like explore the potential movement solutions in the environment, right? Like,
Do you think doing it like that makes okay, so here's sometimes this is something I kind of ran into not that long ago where I was like wanting a certain reaction. I was like trying to get a certain reaction out of people, but I wasn't doing the thing that led to the specific reaction. So I was like, I want to work this
yeah,
kind of passing, but people keep doing this. And I'm like, well, the logical solution would be to do this. It's like, but I don't want to do that because that's not what I'm working on. So it's like, you kind of
yeah,
have
that's
to
tricky,
allow
and that
yourself to
is.
be more general in the position in order to get
Mm.
legitimate reads out of people, is what you're sort of saying.
Yeah, no, that is tricky, and that is actually, I think, where CLA is genuinely very valuable. If it's
Yeah.
designed correctly, it can really pull those situations out of a role, right? Like
Yeah.
I really think it's very valuable for that, right? Like you want the students to encounter a highly specific problem. Well, you have to engineer situations through the construction of specific rounds with constraints that will pull that situation out of the round, right? And I think that is genuinely that is the number one use of CLA style rounds. That specific problem you've just described, I think the training modality that is best suited to solve that problem is CLA. Yeah.
Do you do this thing where you'll almost play a CLA game without telling your partner? Be like, in this round, I'm only trying to stay seated. I'm not even going to fucking attack this guy.
Let's not give these guys anything else to work with. All right. So that's a round with goals. All right. And I
Yeah,
do that
yeah,
all the
around
time.
with goals. Yeah,
Everybody does that. Everybody does that. Of course. Yeah, that's
yeah,
I 100% do that. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, Sometimes when I'm training, if I'm teaching a class in the way that I just described that I like, where you got maybe 30 minutes of free rolling at the end of it, with 1 minute break in between, so that adds up to 40 minutes, right? I will do more positional rounds. I'll say, "Hey, let's keep working this position." I'll grab a guy, right? Um, you gotta always keep in mind that, like, training for a blue belt versus training for a black belt, like training as a blue belt or training as a black belt, one of the biggest problems that the blue belt will face if he wants to be deliberate about his training is hierarchy, right? You're a black belt in the room. You say, "Hey, I want to do positional round. Blue belt, come over here. Let's do this." They're probably going to oblige you. But if you're a blue belt,
Yes, sir.
yeah, yes, sir, whatever you say. Okay. Right. Like if you're a blue belt and you ask a black belt, this black belt has a whole host of ideas about what is and is not worth working on. Imagine you got some grizzly old school black belt and you're like, "Can I do berimbolo positional rounds on you?" And he's like, right? Like,
Fat chance, buddy.
yeah, and maybe that is genuinely what would benefit you at that time, but it's a little harder to engineer the training room in such a way that you can get that out of it, right? So, um, you've got to kind of think about, okay, how do I create more deliberate training situations if I'm not the one running the room? And maybe you can't force that specific problem. Maybe you can't get to work that. Okay, then maybe you got to pick something else. What can you work on with that grizzly old black belt? Maybe your guard retention, right? Maybe your top position base. Maybe he pulls guard and he wants, and you can practice not getting swept, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. You can just take and work on what you can work on with the given people you're with. So it's like if you
Yeah.
want to work on Barambolas, but you're in a room with fucking tanks, it's like, got news for you, buddy. You're not working on Barambolas.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard.
It's gonna be hard.
And I think what helps this is having a long-term perspective, okay? Not
Yes,
viewing,
yeah.
okay, it's not about today, it's not about tomorrow, it's about the long-term goal of
It's about
improvement
like
over
5 years
time.
now.
What's that?
It's about 5 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I still want to win trials. That's my goal. I'm 34 years old. Gianni Gerbo just won trials. He's 34. Well, I'm gonna win it when I'm 35 or 36. That's the goal. Let's
Let's fucking
remember
go.
let's remember the data supports the idea that old guys can succeed at 66. Tanquinho won when he was 38. Cobrinha won when he was 38, 36, and 34. Okay. So, and that's the world championship. I'm not saying I'm not even shooting for that. I mean, once I win trials, I'll try to win the world championship. Okay, cool. Whatever. My first goal, I just got to beat a couple Europeans. That's not that hard. You know what I mean? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I've lost every time I've done it. So obviously it is very
Fuck.
hard, but
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But
Yeah.
yeah, I still think it's possible. That's what I'm aiming for. I'm in my retard maxing era. You know what I mean?
Yes, dude. I was gonna ask you about your retard maxing.
Yes, it's happening. I'm retard maxing. I
Fuck yeah.
genuinely believe no one on earth can stop me, including Bushesha. I would fuck that
Fuck
guy.
that guy. He's a chump.
Cut this for the podcast. Cut that.
I'm leaving it in.
I just I thought of the first, like, who's the first massive big ass guy that I could think of that I would definitely not win against.
Yeah. We got before I let you go, I do want to touch on Eddie Cummings because I know this guy was such a huge influence on you. What was it like in retrospect training with that guy who was super influential in your game?
So he so let me think about like a specific kind of like situation. So he used to teach these classes at Henzo Gracie Brooklyn, which I would go to. So I used to, in a given day, train 7:30 with John, and then so I would train twice a day, 7:30 and then 12. Okay. And then I had school and work after that. Um so 7:30 was always John. But then 3 times a week it was also Eddie. So I would do 3 sessions with John, 2 sessions with John in the afternoon, 3 with Eddie, and then 5 with John in the morning, right? So I was getting to learn from both of them. And this is an amazing time period in my training. Like, I got so much out of this. Um, the I would say the number one thing I got from Eddie was a sense of how to organize the packages of information that you're working with. Okay. Um, I actually just said this to John Satava tonight at his gym. We were just talking about different things. And I mentioned something Eddie said to me once about, he said to the whole class about you should focus on 2 submissions that are linked and make that the core of your submission game. So for instance, he gave the example, front headlock and the back, right? Or it could be arm bars and the back, or it could be, I don't know, heel hooks and ankle
Heel hook,
locks,
straight
or
ankle
just leg
lock.
locks in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it actually could be broader than that. It could be leg locks, and then maybe also the
And the
back.
back.
Like the back kind of sequences to be
Yeah.
frank, the back sequences well with like everything. Yeah. But like
Yeah.
there are other examples as well. They're just not coming to me right now. Um
Yep.
but yeah, I thought that that way of thinking about organizing your own development. Okay, planning ahead, what do I want to be good at? Okay, you can get good at anything if you apply yourself, you know. If you go through a process of, okay, what do I want to get good at? Who's good at it? Let's study what they do. Let's break down what they do. Let's experiment what they do, right? You just keep iterating through processes like that. And you do it in an organized, you got to be organized, you got to be consistent, and you got to be not just going through the motions, but thoughtful. So organized, consistent, and thoughtful. If you're doing these things, you absolutely can develop basically any skill that you want. It's just a matter of doing it. So that was, I would say, this is something that I was already doing because I was always very like research oriented and data driven. Like, I'll tell you a little story about me. One time I was in my college's, Queens College, where I went to college. I was in the library, and I was doing research on Chinese philosophical history, which is something that I was and still am very interested in. And I was reading about Chinese philosophical history and how it connects to Chinese history and culture, broadly speaking. And I had this thought to myself, man, if I could just spend the rest of my life sitting in a library, reading books and writing notes and engaging in research that enhances my capacity to understand interesting things, um, that would be the perfect life. And jujitsu for me was a way to further explore that. That's how I saw it. And that's what was interesting to me about it. And what Eddie, the kind of the number one thing Eddie sort of gave me in teaching was an emphasis on doing that in an especially organized and deliberate way with long-term goals in mind.
Yeah, right. Okay. That's amazing. He's like,
Mm.
he's a guy I'd love to meet. Hopefully I get to encounter him one day because he's like a mythical
Mhm.
creature. I know I got to get you out of here soon, so let's finish with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
All right. What's the worst beating you've ever received?
Worst beating. Probably Jason Rao. I mean, like in terms of like just fucking me up nonstop, probably Jason Rao. I think so.
Yeah, that's fair. That's the third person I think who said that, so fair play to J Rao.
Or Gordon. With Gordon, he wouldn't fuck you up as much. Gordon would work a lot of defense.
Yep. Yep. Still never train with Gordon. It makes me so sad. Um, who was the strongest person
Someday,
you ever
just ask him to
competed
roll.
against? He didn't roll. He wasn't rolling.
Physically
Hold on.
strongest,
Let me say that. Let me say that again because it kind of lagged. Um, who is the strongest person you ever competed against?
like physically speaking, you mean, like in terms of
Yeah,
like
well, you're
grip
like
strength
Jesus
and stuff like
Christ.
that.
This guy's strong as hell.
I think DeAndre Corbet,
Oh yeah,
crazy. And that's I'm not saying that because of stuff we talked about on the podcast. Like he's genuinely like a very physically strong guy. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Why don't you ask me how the matches went though?
do I? Do I? Do you want me to?
I mean, I think people might want to know.
How did the matches go?
So we had 4 matches where we went 2-2.
Oh,
I think I have all videos of all of them. One of them is on my YouTube where I mean, he's just such a strong motherfucker. I got him in Inside Hill, and I didn't tap him, but like, yeah, all the wins were points or decision wins. We beat. That's how we beat each other. So yeah,
nice. That's good. Um,
I only
so
say that because I think people are gonna want to know.
yeah, honestly, I didn't know you even had matches with him.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm attacking CLA, and I've had matches with the sword of eco. So
he
like
is
they
the
might
sword
want
of
to know.
eco. That's so true.
No, you never heard this. You never heard they say DeAndre is the sword of eco.
I've never
They
heard that.
really
That's
say
fucking
this.
hilarious.
This is a real thing. Yeah, I swear to God, I'm not
That's
making
actually
this
kind of
up.
sick. You just by telling me that you may have turned me onto a CLA thing because that's so sick.
Oh my God,
Dude, who's the shield of CLA? Gavin?
the shield of CLA. I don't know. Gavin Corbett, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah. um, okay, if we're talking about like building a quintet squad where you got to go out there and compete, and you want to bring on like they can be your friends, they can be just like an uber powerful squad. Who's
Um,
one guy you're in the team? Who's the other four?
the other 4, and like, what's the weight? I'll just pick one
Let's
person
just do
per.
ADCC weight classes.
Sure. Okay, one person. So I'm 66. Uh, uh, 77. Well, I would just pick the champions that won the last ACC. Um, I don't know. 77, maybe Dante Leon. 88, Jason Rao. Minus 99. Is Ryan Aiken minus 99? He's really good. Maybe him. 99
I think he did
plus.
88, but he probably could do 90.
Um, all right, let's put him there. Let's put him there. And
Yep.
let's say plus 99 plus, I'll say Suppo.
Let's go. That's a squad, dude. That's a
Yeah,
squad who would also be really fun at the bar afterwards.
yeah, I'm sure.
Minus Suppo. He doesn't drink.
He can still be there though. He can have water. I don't drink
He can still
either.
be there. And now my last question is who, if you could have a dream match with a past competitor, who would that be?
Oh man, there's a lot of people who I'd like to compete against, people that have beaten me in the past, but it's like a long. I've lost so many times. It's such a long list.
But
One
like
guy,
a yeah.
one guy I'd like to compete against is You're not gonna know who he is. He's not like a famous guy. His name is Sergio. He beat me at European trials a couple years ago. I was like, I don't want to make excuses. He beat me, and I definitely He's somebody I'd like to compete against anybody who beat me in the past. You know, he's someone who beat me.
Same.
He's someone who I've thought about beating. On that topic, do you know,
Someone you thought about every night before bed.
yeah, there's no one like that.
The idea behind that previous question was I always think of Lachlan, where he had his dream match with Marcelo, because he's always
Mm.
looked up to Marcelo, and Marcelo retired. He had the cancer. We didn't even know if he was
Well,
going to live,
can
let
I have
alone
a
compete again.
can I have a dream match with someone who I haven't competed against?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I would like to go to ADCC 1998. Put me in the 66 finals. I'd like that match. Let me go
Yeah.
back in time, but my modern skill set. I'm pretty
Who do
sure I'm
you
winning.
replace?
I think Haben Gracie. Oh no. It was Alexandre Socofreta, who's a badass. I'm sorry, he definitely doesn't know how to stop Kanebisami and then a saddle heel hook or Z-lock. Not in 1998. All right. So
Yeah,
let me have that match. Same skill set that I have now. You
yeah.
would, if that happened, you would be talking about me now as the greatest jiu-jitsu athlete who ever lived. I innovated the whole sport.
Look at this guy. He's an innovator. That's so funny. Well, I always say my dream match is Gordon Ryan, because that'd be fucking sick.
Right. Well, for the 30 seconds that it lasts, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I almost want to do a stipulation where like we have 15 minutes, and if you can tap me 5 times in the 15 minutes, you win. But if you don't tap me 5 times, that's it. It's a draw.
I want to see if I can draw a line between you and Gordon Ryan, proving you could defeat him. So for instance, like I've done this for myself. You can you can finagle. You know, if you've beaten anyone good, you can go. Okay, you can map out a route where you've beaten Gordon Ryan, right? I wonder if through Ari Talbot we could do that for you. We've got to figure that out. There's got to be a way. I'm gonna look at his record and see who has he beaten that we could finagle that you are actually better than Gordon Ryan.
Like a 6 degrees of separation thing of MMA math.
It may very well be possible. We just have to figure out how.
You're the man to. If anyone could do it, you're the man for the job.
I got to think. I forget what is my path to beating Gordon. It involves, so it's like me, DeAndre beat Keith. Keith beat, I forget, the link is like you got to get to Andrew Tackett. If you get to Andrew
Yeah.
Tackett, then you get Tex Johnson. You get Tex Johnson, you get Felipe Pena. Felipe Pena, you get Gordon. So, but I forget, what is the link? I don't
Yeah.
remember what is the link between, because I don't know that Keith and Andrew have ever even competed. I don't remember.
This should be over your bed every night as like a guide for your life.
Yeah, but I do know that you can draw that line. As a joke, I did that once.
That's very funny.
I
You're
sat
like,
down
this is
thinking to
how I'm
myself,
better than Gordon.
yeah, if you map it out this way,
Yeah.
actually,
Well, dude, it's been so good talking to you. I haven't talked to you in a long time. It was a lot of fun chatting and talking
we
shit.
text literally every day, like literally.
Yeah, I know, but I don't get to see your face all these times, you know?
Right? Okay. Well, I see your
Yeah.
profile picture. I'm scrolling through your page constantly, so maybe you're not doing that for me. So that says something about
I'm
our
doing that
friendship.
for you, dude. I give you real advice all the time.
Right? You do. Yeah. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. My following's growing because of the real techniques that you've been teaching me. So thank you.
Is there anything you want to plug before I let you go?
If anyone's interested, I have a coaching program. If you don't think that I'm a complete idiot who's been speaking heresy on this podcast, feel free to shoot me a DM. I'd love to talk to you about coaching.
Beautiful. All right. It was lovely talking to you, bro. Have a good one.